Welcome to the Festival of Storytellers.
I can't tell you how excited I am to be on right now. It's been a couple of weeks of excitement, getting prepared, and I've done a lot of things in my life, but this has got to be close to the top.
Thank you, Reader's Magnet, and thank you, John, for putting this forth and taking the chance on us authors in presenting this out to the world.
I've enjoyed this immensely, Joanne.
Ellie, so have I. Thank you for who you are, and thank you, Reader's Magnet. You all are beautiful, and you've worked so very hard, and we are blessed.
We are.
I thank everybody that's involved with this process, because we know writers need readers and writers need publishers. We thank Reader's Magnet and everybody that's involved. I love Reader's Magnet. They say, we share your stories with the world.
Good afternoon. My name is Sandra BIRCHFIELD, and I'm welcomed and have enjoyed the involvement with Reader's Magnet during this Festival of Authors. And I hope that we all learn a lot from this episode of getting involved with children and with reading, with adults in reading. We don't want to leave a book on a shelf. We want to take it down and use it and read it and remember it. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the things that's my experience. We have questions at the end, and if you have a question before the end, then just go ahead and put it on there, and we'll try to get to it. Yesterday, we discussed a lot about my background, which I wasn't really expected to do that, but everything we do and everything we say is important. And one of the biggest things that we do and what we should do more of is listen. Listen to what people are saying. Take those words and use them so that you can use them to hopefully permit you to write a book that will be successful in some child's life. And some of our books that we have, I have published 5 books, and they've all each been very special and have meant a lot to me. The first one I did was, I've been an educator for 40 some years. I've taught kindergarten, I've taught college students, I've taught phys ed, I've taught a lot of things. I've been a college professor, and I never dreamed I'd be writing books. But one Sunday afternoon, I had a memory come to me of my grandmother and where she lived and the things that were going on during my day and time in the 50s and the 60s. And remembering how good she was to everyone and how everyone loved her. Ingate City, Virginia, which is in Southwest Virginia, is where we lived. A small town, but it was separated. The land was already marked, and they had a section in town called Colored Town. And Colored Town was where my grandmother lived, and she wouldn't have even thought about moving because she had so many good friends. And we would go over on Sundays and sometimes other holidays and stay a day and play with the kids and the children that were around, and we would so much enjoy it. And not once did I think about that we were different, but we were the same. And then we didn't have a car, and my father worked at Tennessee Eastman Company and had to ride the bus. And whenever we went shopping, we went to Kingsport, Tennessee, and rode the bus. And one day I can remember asking my mother, "Mom, who are those people back there, and why do they have different skin and different hair?" And this opened up a whole new realm for me to find out more about how we're all the same, and we're all equal and should have the same opportunities. And this is what we're working for in our country. It's hard to realize how much we depend on each other. And a small child, some of the books that we have talked about, it's important for them to learn that people have different colored skins, but they have different languages, they have different voices, and other unique things about them that we all need to learn about. So the people, who are those people back there, has been, it was put out in 2011 and has had some success. I incorporated the book in the first place because I was an elementary guidance counselor. And as an elementary guidance counselor, we had pre-K through fourth grade. And we would go into the classroom and do a lesson. And when it was Reading Month and Black History Month, we didn't have any books or any materials for that age of children. So that's the reason I wrote the book to start with, was there was an incentive to do so because there wasn't anything out there. And a lot of times we need to take things that we think about that are important to children and bring them down a little bit on their level. They might be important to adults also, but they're also important to children to learn about, such as race, such as getting along with others, such as dealing with their emotions, dealing with when we get heated or upset. These are all things that are very important and a child needs to learn. The book has been given out to many school districts and schools in the area, and have gotten in the hands of the librarians and the counselors. And I think it's worthy to look at what has been produced there. Two of my friends, Ruby Rogers and Kathy Wheatley, were going to talk a little bit about that book, and Ninky McCarty. But we're having a little trouble with their video, so we might not get to it, but it might come up in the middle of what we're talking about. So if it does, it's okay. The next book that we did was called Manners, A Little Giant Called Manners. And this is my fourth publisher, because I haven't been really satisfied. I appreciate that Reader's Magnet is getting some things done and going to the limit to do what they need to do. But a friend of mine, Carol Grace, and I worked hard on this series, and Reader's Magnet doesn't have it. It's Marco, because Marco is guidance and counseling and deals with those sorts of literature and publishing. And I didn't want to have to try to sell these one by one. I did sell several to some of the school systems by talking to the superintendent or to the lead guidance counselor or someone like that. But the name of the book is Little Giant Teaches Big Lessons. And this is a lesson plan book that every teacher has when they get the kit. The kit is $30. It has a teacher's edition, and it has a storybook for the children. And it's called The Little Giant Called Manners. And Manners is a little boy that lives in a family of giants. Okay, you can remember that that's Marco. And he's always trying to help people out. Manners is a good name for Manners because he's always trying to help people see the right way to do things. And his brothers and his sister, he had 3 brothers and a sister, and they were all hard to understand sometimes about the way they dealt with their problems. They acted out. The little girl was called Puller of the Hair, and she would get in fights at school and pull people's hair and cause a ruckus and cause a lot of problems on her computer by saying things that weren't true and those sorts of things. And Manners had to come to her aid and help her out. And these characters are really unique to a child because they have such funny names and they can identify with them. And there's also a song that the children can learn to sing before the lesson starts, and a chant about the giants coming through the wood. So it's kind of a fun thing. The other sibling, one of the other siblings, was called Kicker in the Shin. And he liked to throw food in the cafeteria and do those sorts of things. And the other one is Hit Him in the Side. And he always called problems on the bus by stretching all out. He was real large, and he'd take 2 or 3 of the bus seats, and children get upset. The bus driver would have to stop the bus. So Manners talks to him and asks him if he would like to be on the bus patrol. And he said, yes, I think I'd really like that. He said, well, you've got to behave on the bus and earn the right to be on the bus patrol. So he did, and that worked out the problem. So Manners is a good series, and I wish that you could look at it as a state of Virginia guidance counselors outline of their messages and the things they want to get across in the series. And it's all available in these easy little packets. One other thing that we had after Manners, the reason we didn't try to sell it ourselves is because it was hard to do a book at a time, as I found out through who are those people back there. The next book we put out was just kind of a crazy little book, and it's called Goodness Gracious, Grumbling is Contagious. And I like the story, and it's for adults, by the way, not children, adults. But it was a story that one Thanksgiving 2 years ago, our pastor was talking about Thanksgiving and how we should be thankful for what we have. And the sermon stayed with me. And when I got home, I got a pencil and paper and started writing about complaining and grumbling. And it just kind of came out as goodness gracious, grumbling is contagious. And it's about 3 opossums, mom, a dad, and the baby. And they live in a tree, and they've lived there for a long time, and they're very happy in their tree because they don't have any problems. Well, then in a few days, the mom and dad noticed that the siblings were all arguing all the time. They couldn't be satisfied no matter what happened or what they did for them. They just weren't satisfied. So the father opossum knew something was wrong. So they went out and visited the tree and found out that another family that had the grumbling bug had moved into the tree. And what did they do about it? You'll have to get the book and find out. But it's a real good book, and it's good for children or adults. We have 2 books that are still just ready to come out at any time now. One is called Get Well Quick, Hospital for the Sick. And during the pandemic, it came to me that maybe children would need to know exactly what a hospital was. And it came through by a friend. Kathy had talked to her friend, and her granddaughter was very worried about her grandmother because her grandmother was going to have to go and spend some time in the hospital. And the little girl didn't know anything about the hospital. So the little girl that was little needed to know about the hospital. It's kind of hard to rhyme some words, but we came up with it okay. And she was really pleased when she went to the hospital to visit with Grams, and found that Grams was eating her food, and she was sitting up in bed and looking good, a lot better than she had looked for several days. So the book is intended to be distributed to doctors' offices, to children that are going into the hospital, so that they can read the book before they go, and the book will be theirs to keep. It's just a little paperback. It's not very expensive to produce. So if any of you are healthcare workers, this is so important. Our children emotionally are torn. They have seen so many things in this pandemic. They've seen so many things by watching the news on TV, because no matter if you have it watching it yourself, they pick up a lot of the clues. And so I would invite you to get this little book and see how it works. And I think you'll be very pleased. But that was the goal, is to reach some children that were worried about this sort of thing, to know a little bit more about it. The next book, the last book that we have, is called Nobody, with a little N, is Somebody. And nobody is somebody because he does something for the school. The hospital book and the Nobody book, both are supposed to be coming out very soon, within the next week or 2. And we're real excited because we're hoping that both books will do real well. And during the Christmas holidays, there'll be good stocking stuffers, and children will be excited about having their own book to read. Because even though we think that books aren't read anymore, maybe one reason they're not read is that children don't have them in their home. They're up on the shelf, and they never get the opportunity to read or look at them. So this is something else that we need to take into perspective and see what we can do about helping out the libraries and the classrooms with books. Books are expensive. It's true. Textbooks are awfully expensive, and many families can't afford them. But when we're getting that Christmas gift to a family together. Even the school or someone that lives close to the family could stick a couple of books in the package so that there'd be a little extra something for them. The book that Nobody is Somebody came to me because as a guidance counselor, one of my duties when I taught was to teach a guidance lesson in each classroom for 45 minutes once a week. And it was a pleasure to do that because the children loved it. We had a good time. There's several programs out there, but they were real excited about learning about how to deal with some of these problems, and emotionally was one of them. I would also have small groups, and I'd send a paper home with several sessions listed, like one might be, you don't have any friends. You feel like you don't have any friends. You feel like you're alone. Just some of those topics, or maybe there's a new baby in the house. This is a problem for a small child that's coming to school. He's at school with the teacher and all the children, and his mother is at home with the new baby. So what's going through that child's mind? A lot of things. So these are other things that you can use to kind of help bridge the gap. But Nobody was a little boy, and he didn't like sports. He liked to play puzzles and work puzzles and games and things that would tease his brain. And one day the coach, he was out and around the schoolyard. Coach said, "Nobody, come over here. Let's go out here and play some ball." And Nobody wanted nothing to do with that at all. But he went and he played, and he had to admit he kind of enjoyed it. So the coach was real excited about Nobody getting involved, and he got to know Nobody a little bit better and found out some things that he did like, that he was very smart, but nobody knew he was very smart because he was so quiet and shy and a little bit backward that they didn't understand that he was really thinking all the time, thinking of things to do. So the coach talked him into doing something that he really didn't want to do, but he felt like he should do. And that was that the spelling bee was coming to the school, and the guidance counselor was signing people up that wanted to participate in the spelling bee. So the coach talked Nobody into signing up for the spelling bee, and he didn't know that Nobody was real excited about it. And he went to the guidance counselor with Nobody, the coach did, and had him sign up. And the night of the spelling bee, all the people were there. Nobody, somebody, everybody, all the bodies were there. So Nobody was a little intimidated, a little shy, a little quiet. But people were amazed. He started spelling those words one after one after the other, and everybody had their hands clapping. And the more they clapped, the better Nobody got. So what happened? You'll have to read the book to find out. There are lots of ways that we can write books. Like I said, I never thought I would be a writer of a book. And I'm not the smartest person in the world, and I'm not real good with a lot of things. But if you just pick up an idea, something that you like to do, it will be real rewarding to you and others that read the story. And I found that one of the biggest things that urges me on to do the same thing is because I can put the children's names and my grandchildren in the front cover. And then the Nobody book, I put Levi, Benjamin, Josie, and Sophie. Always look out for the nobodies. Pay attention to people. They might be your best friend one day. We all have to learn how to do things and how to understand people, and that's really important. The coach was real proud of Nobody because of what he had done, and they became good friends. And Nobody realized that to be a friend, to make a friend, you had to be a friend. So he was able to do that. We have a phone call coming in. We may have a video that's ready to go. I think that's just we turned all of our phones off, but evidently one got turned back on. So I apologize for the inconvenience. But again, going back to Reader's Magnet, Reader's Magnet has laid the foundation for authors like myself and others to find a place to be and a place to go and things to do in order to advertise and to do our books. It's so hard for an author to write a book, be excited about it, and spend several weekends going to the library or to a private or public event to advertise their book and may be able to sell only one. Sometimes we're sent to places we have great anticipation of selling a lot of books, and things happen and it doesn't work out that way. But with this new Zoom system and all the things, we still have some work to do on it, but we're going to get there. And Reader's Magnet's leading the way in technology, and the thought of even doing this that would go out to thousands and thousands of people. It'd take us till we were overly retired, but if we had to go from place to place to show our books and talk about them. Are there any questions? And if not, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. Anyone have something they want to find out about? I have a Southwest Virginia, not West Virginia, but a Southwest Virginia accent. So sometimes my words might not be as clear as you're used to. So if I can, I'll try to talk slowly. I'm a fast talker. I graduated from college in 1972, and prior to that, I was in high school, and I also graduated from high school in 1968. And then those 4 years, I went to Clinch Valley College and majored in phys ed, education, and social sciences. Because I like psychology, I wanted to be a counselor one day. I enjoyed all the subjects that I had to take. Let's see, a question from the live chat booth. Are you still searching us, teaching us to this day? Yes, I try to teach all the time. I try to show by actions what I believe in and what I do. You know, sometimes I may surprise a child by what I say and do. They may think I'm going to be explosive, and I'll just say, let's just try to do better, okay? We can do that. And just have them talk and find out what the problem is. So after I graduated from college, I got a job for 8 years teaching kindergarten in Bristol, Virginia. And we had a lot of things that happened during that year. We had annexation that happened. So we had a school with 1,100 students that was built for about 500 students. So we had to annex some of our people to Bristol, Virginia. And before we did that, we had 135 children in our kindergarten group. And they were there all day. And we had 5 spaces to put them. We blocked 2 rooms, made 2 rooms out of 1, so that we could have math and science, social sciences, art, and math and language arts. And the art area was a wet area with water and everything, and so we could clean up after we had art. So we were able to offer all the children what they needed, but we had to treat them like high school children, moving from space to space whenever it was time for another class to begin. But it worked. And these are ideas that you come up with when you have to solve a problem. And I think that's another thing we're trying to do through our books, is trying to solve some of the world's problems, which I hope that we're all successful in that. The next job that I had after I was there at Clinch Valley as director of missions for 1 year as assistant director, and met my husband, and we got married, and the idea was to go and live somewhere else. And we ended up coming back to Clinch Valley because the man that was the director of admissions went back to where he had started from and resigned, and I got the job. So I was at that job for 8 years, and then I went into guidance and counseling, got my degree, grandfathered in when I was doing my educational leadership policy analysis, EDD degree. So we had a good time working on all those things. It was very stressful at the time. It took me 6 years to finish, but I was glad that I did it because it gave me an insight to a lot of other things. I then was, in 1999, chosen as principal of Wise Primary. And it's a pretty large elementary school. And I had a man, Mr. Kraft, Bill Kraft, that was very good at helping. We split up the duties, and we knew that who did what the best. And that's the way we divided it up, so it worked out fine. Are there illustrations in your book? Yes, there are. My daughter our daughter, Roger and mine's daughter, Julie, did the illustrations. And who are those people back there? She did most of the illustrations in Goodness Gracious, Grumbling is Contagious. I did one page. I did the illustrations in Nobody is Somebody. And Reader's Magnet did the illustrations for, I did the cover, but they did the illustrations for Get Well Quick, Get Well Quick, Hospital for the Sick. They got that one. So we divided everything up basically, and it worked out pretty well. The next job I had after I finished guidance and counseling was I was about ready to retire, and I worked part-time at in the evenings down at LMU, Lincoln Memorial University in Harrogate, Tennessee, teaching graduate classes in administration. And then I went full-time with them after I retired from Wise Primary and had an opportunity to go full-time, so I did. And I enjoyed the position, enjoyed the time with the graduate people. It was, I stayed in that position probably about 5 years. And in the meantime, they had another program on the campus of Clinton Valley College, the University of Virginia at Wise is what it's called now, where they had classes virtually. And I taught school law, and I taught school community relations and things like that, which are very important for grad students that are going out into administration or to administrative roles. School community relations is one of the most important books or lessons that you'll ever learn, because the book had problems and the student had to solve the problems, tell the objectives that were used in order to solve the problem. And this worked out real well because it taught us how to approach people. You know, you can't just, I had a parent one time that just would come into the office and was very disruptive. And, you know, you want to try to control that, but sometimes it's hard to control. And you want to do the best that you can do. And as long as you try your best and know you yourself have tried the very best you can, then that should be rewards enough. Do we have any more questions? We've got a couple, 3 minutes left, so if anyone can think of anything, you're welcome to ask them. I am married. I have, we have a son and a daughter, and they each have 2 children and a husband and a wife. And they're starting school. One's in kindergarten. 2 are in kindergarten. One's in first and one's in second. So when they come, we have a really good time. They're wonderful. So I'm glad that I had the opportunity to be with Reader's Magnet and to do these sessions. And I hope that something I've said or done will inspire you to write that first book. And if you ever want to ask any questions, you can get to me through Reader's Magnet. And here's another question. Being an educator, what was the hardest part for you? The hardest part was probably computer science in my EDD class. It was very difficult for me. But I persevered and got by okay and graduated okay. I had to drive about over 2 hours to my graduate school one way. I would leave school, go to the graduate school, teach 2 classes back to back, drive back home, get home about 12 o'clock, study from 12 to 2, get up at 2. Get things organized at 2 o'clock in the morning for me to get out and do the things I need to do. So it was a very gruesome schedule because they wanted to run you through there and get you out of there. And that's what they did. But I so appreciate this opportunity. I'm grateful to Reader's Magnet. And if you have any more information that you need to find out, just let me know. Thank you very much for your time. Okay, one more question. What was the most successful and most fulfilling part of being a teacher? I think the most fulfilling part is to find out that how much those kindergarten children love you. We had one child that passed while we were in our kindergarten. We had 22 children. And every morning we did roll count and calendar and all those things up front, you know how you do. And every morning one little boy would say, we have 21 here, but we're really supposed to have 22, but so-and-so passed away every morning. So that was on his mind. That's something he needed to talk about. And so we tried to explain what had happened, and things do happen that way. And we just have to try to understand the best we can at the age we are. And sometimes it's hard when someone that little is so confused about what has happened to someone that he cared about in his classroom. Thank you again. Have a great weekend.